want to pass these pictures around. They probably won't make it all the way to the back, but they may come into play if time allows. We'll see. I didn't really read these books, but they're just here now. If anybody's interested in some of the read material that I used, feel free to talk to me afterwards or during or whatever. But courage, dignity, and sacrifice came together with outrage to create an eruption in this country that has reverberated around the world. These are things that we know. Those of us who are on Facebook see the multiple postings that we share with each other, which I think is great and should continue. So we just deepen and deepen the knowledge that we have about what's actually going on and further combat misconceptions, misunderstandings, and flat out lies about the justice system, who the police are, and what they do. But this bubbling rage and this silent aggravation that has been under the surface for some time ripped open and exploded and is pouring out all over the country. Countless incidents of murder by the police, and that's what it is. Harassment by the police, torture by the police, came to a head in Ferguson, Missouri. And growing numbers had had enough. But you have some people who were on the fence. There were questions. The way the media portrayed what went down in Ferguson, which there's not enough time to go into all those facts in this presentation, but people had reservations. People who have not either directly or through friends or through what neighborhood you grew up in, who don't have the experience of the black experience, the experience of people who live in poor neighborhoods, people who don't have that. People had questions. But then came Eric Garner. It was on video. I saw it. You saw it. The media saw it. The court saw it. And what they saw was a man who was supposedly illegally, we'll get back to that, choked to death by a cop. And the courts, who also saw it, deemed it not even worthy of trial. So some of these points, so the points that we've been making leading up to that became harder to look away from. It is legal in the United States in 2014 and soon to be 2015 to kill a black man in the streets. That it is legal.
Yes.
It's open season and there are no repercussions. The courts are not a place where black people can find justice, can expect justice. I would say can expect justice. Racism is and the negative perception that's still harbored in society, coming off of some of the things that Rashid explained, towards people of color is a factor in the unfair treatment of blacks by the police. And it's a factor in the cop sympathy campaigns after the fact, as they cover up the stories of what really happened. But those three things became hard to argue against after Eric Garner. And then lo and behold, right after that, we have Tamir Rice, where basically a gang-style drive-by execution took place of this kid with a toy. And then story after story started to flood out. It's not that we didn't know that what goes down, but the minute that we believe that somebody else cares and that somebody else wants to do something about it is when you start to see a real flood of all these examples of what people have faced. And so I think it's important for us to understand in this room that we are in the midst of a historic response to police abuse and racial inequality. History is not just in the books. It's not just here. History is today. History is you and I in this room coming to conclusions about what needs to be done. It's about how we can affect the world and understanding that what we do or what we don't do will shape the world for all time. So I believe that to maximize our impact on history, we must harness the power of our courage, of our dignity, and of sacrifice by understanding who the enemy is, in this case, who our allies are, and what are the origins of these things. Because I think that's the only way we'll be able to throw them off of us once and for all. So are people down with taking that road? I truly believe, and I think people in here believe, that armed with knowledge, a fighting people can accomplish seemingly unreachable goals. Two of the biggest terms that I want to talk about today are we and they. Because understanding this in relationship to police brutality and racism, I think will open the door to push back these attacks. The true we and the true they is often hidden in society. But there are moments when we catch a glimpse of what it really is. Like Katrina, Hurricane Katrina, which I was fortunate enough, or however you want to look at it, to go down there and cover in the days immediately following the conditions that people faced and what ended up being literally a police and military takeover of that area. At moments like that, you start to see who is we and who are they. Rallies and demonstrations. There's pictures going around and I want people to take a look at just of different types of protests and rallies because I'll refer to that. Labor battles that take place. When people are out on picket lines with picket signs and they're standing in front of a company that they think is treating them wrong or not giving them the right wages, so they withhold their own power and they say, we're not going to work for you, you're not going to make any money till you fix this. Police sport a phrase on most of their vehicles, the ones that are, not covert. Something along the lines of protect and serve. And it's easy for us to say, well, that's a lie. But it's not a lie. We just don't understand who it's for. It's not a lie if we understand who they're talking about and who they're protecting those people from. There is a tiny percentage of ruling rich families. That's just a fact. They own the factories. They run the government. They basically hold the vast majority of wealth and power in this country. Then on the other side, there's the rest of us. But there's a further breakdown that I want to try to get into in a second. But the police are the institution to protect the wealth of this tiny layer and defend its prerogatives in keeping the wealth specifically away from us. Now, in that 99% that people, I don't really quite agree with that phrase because I think it's there's a higher. I think the percentage is much higher than 99%, but for lack of a better term, and that's a commonly understood thing. They've convinced a top layer, besides or that in that 99%, that they are benefiting for the way things are set up. And those people in that layer usually are among the protected, usually. But the middle class group enjoys, for the most part, the protection of and service of the police. Their whole life experience is one where that is a reality. It is unfathomable to someone who lives in a situation where for their entire lives and everybody they know, the police are protectors, walk down the neighborhood, pat little kids on the head. It's unfathomable. The reality that we know or are learning is the truth. And if you've been involved in any of these Facebook debates with people who are in that layer, it's important because we have to understand, we have to be patient with those who we know who are rational people and who we can convince, because to accept the reality that we're trying to explain is to shatter their reality. Is to shatter the idea that everything is okay. It's to shatter the idea that the justice system works. It's to shatter the idea that those cops that are patrolling the neighborhood, if you have a kid of color or even not in a hood at night in the wrong situation with the wrong cop and the wrong attitude, it could be the last time you see them. That is a scary, ugly reality. It's also one that a lot of us know and have known for some time. Okay. Okay, got to shift gears. Okay, but the rest of this grouping of this 99 is us. Even if we don't realize that you are an us. I think that cop brutality right now and what we see is aimed at people of color. And that's what we see. But like I was saying before, in times of social struggle, and we know that there's a deepening economic crisis in this country. We know that more people are going to can't take their conditions. More people are going to stand up and defend themselves on whatever front they are, whether it's for women's rights, whether it's gay rights, whether it's a union struggle. People are going to start to stand up and have begun to do that more and more. And as they do that, look at the police and where they stand. I won't have enough time to go into a lot of things I really wanted to, but there will be future teach-ins. And I'll either hand the baton or maybe I'll pick it up again and run a lap. But the fact of the matter is, in all of these actions that we've ever been in, YouTube and Google pictures of protests throughout history. Look at the direction that the cops are facing. They are always facing us, even if there's a Klan rally. Look at what direction they're facing. So that gives you an indication of who they see as their enemy in all those cases. I just leave on one thought, just a short thought, not even like a minute. Fortunately. You know what? The discussion is actually the most important thing that comes out of this. But I really do encourage that we learn together, we fight together, we grow together, and we become more competent together. And that we take control of our history today.